Cisco! No! Like, okay. People, if you saw The Flash, and I know I've been very inconsistent with doing these episodes, but goddamn, I've caught up. I promise to make sure I won't fuck up with The Flash anymore, but Jesus Christ with this episode. No! I couldn't bear it, man. That was too painful to bear, like, during this episode. It's like, Jesus, like, one thing I can say, what a fucking return. What a return to The Flash to go straight in with some crazy shit. This episode honestly felt like a feature film all in itself. So we get to see from the start of this episode pretty much that, you know, Clyde's brother, like, Martin appeared, and he's actually the Weather Wizard, which I have heard about, like, a couple of times from the Flash comics. He's, like, one of, like, the villains that I know a tiny part of it. I know he's, like, part of the Rogues, like, part of, like, you know, Captain Cold's group in the comics. And, you know, he was there, and he's, like, controlling the weather, like, making giant little hail balls, tsunamis, lightning. Like, this guy shows that he's, like, way more, better with his powers than his brother was. Like, he's there able to, like, conjure, like, tsunamis after, like, what, over a year it's been, like, since they've, like, actually been, like, meta-humans been around, and he was, like, trying to make a fucking, like, whole, like, wall of tsunami take out the sea. He has, like, whales going down, like, a whole bunch of crazy shit. Like, he even kidnapped fucking Joe because he wanted revenge for what he did to his brother, and I was like, oh, man, like, one of my favorite characters, at least he's one of them next to Barry, is definitely Joe, and I really did enjoy it, but he was getting fucked up. He's getting, like, caught in, like, this huge tsunami, and it's just like, Jesus Christ. Even when that one guy who's, like, a complete asshole to Barry even went out of his way, he's like, Joe! He pushes him out of the way before getting hit in the lightning, and this guy actually could, like, not actually even, like, get fucked up. So, definitely with that ending in mind, I'll talk about the ending later, but it's like, there's some stuff I've got to say about that ending in particular. But yeah, again, one of the things that kind of irked me about this episode was, of course, the Iris stuff. It's like, oh my god, with the subplot, with the, just like, all of her, like, oh, I feel for you, Barry, you know, even though I've got a boyfriend and, you know, I know you're extremely happy with your one, I like to keep getting in the way every time. Iris, especially, in, like, maybe since the return, and maybe even so, like, of, like, the series, I've noticed I used to really like her, but now it's kind of like she's starting to irk me. Especially, I feel like she's an obstacle now. That's the thing, I don't feel her as a person anymore, but every time I feel like when Barry wants to find happiness, I feel like she's an obstacle to him now, because Barry wants to be with her, but then he keeps making it difficult, and then he keeps sending, like, these mixed feelings. And I mean, the romance parts were kind of a little bit on and off in this episode. It was kind of awesome at the end with the kiss and stuff. Like, it was all kind of meaningful. It really felt like a kind of like an ending of the movie kind of thing that they were going on with this episode. I very much saw that, but goddamn, wasn't there some crazy shit? And I mean, crazy shit going down with fucking, like, Harrison, Cisco. Yo, if it wasn't for that ending, I would have been losing my shit right now. Like, finding out that Cisco's been doing all this research and finding out about who Harrison Wells is, and it's like, oh, he finds out, like, the whole rape mode sort of little barrier thing, and I was like, I thought that was, like, the other, like, Flash, there was another reverse Flash where Harrison just got in there at first, and I was like, run, Cisco, run. It's like, run, this thing looks like it's gonna fuck you up, and then it's just Harrison, like a fucking evil mastermind, just clapping. You know, I've always thought of you as a son, Cisco. You know, you're amazing and all that. I taught you well, and I've been stuck in this world. Like, the best part was, like, I've been stuck in this world for 15 years. 15 years, and then he just puts his hand through, like, Cisco and murders him. I'm like, Cisco! Okay, I'm kind of glad and kind of at the same time not glad for that ending, especially because when he started making the wind wall and he was going fast enough that he was that after image throughout the episode, and that he actually went back in time a day. Now, it gets a little bit, like, messy with how, like, time control and stuff goes throughout a series. Like, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of, like, time control. I mean, there have been shows that does it very well, like Steins Gate, if anyone's ever seen that. That's a very good anime that does really well with how time works, and a lot of time theories go into it. Now, especially with that, does going back in time kind of ruin, like, sort of the shock value of what happened in this episode? Yeah, it did actually, slightly, but it was still good, and it was like, I don't want the events to change too much, but then again, I don't want a complete repeat of like of this week's episode in next week's one. That's what I don't want. So I want Barry going through time. This time he's trained, he's ready to defeat the Weather Wizard, he's ready to make that Wind Wall Tsunami, but like it seems like he pushed himself too far to go faster so he can make the Wind Wall. But it's like, it's honestly a very confusing episode at the end. It was a fucking epic climax, that's one thing he'd do. Like, so now he's slightly getting a tap of this power to actually go back in time and try and stop his like mother's death from happening. So that's great development for like, well, pretty much what his goals are at, during the mid-season finale. So overall, I really did enjoy this episode. It was a really great one, good one to come back to. I feel as well like maybe like the death and like all the crazy shit kind of got a little bit undermeaning in this episode, mainly just because of the time travel stuff. Don't get me wrong, it was still a great episode, I love it, but yeah, I think it did have some issues here and there, and definitely the romance stuff at the end and stuff, like with Iris and stuff, that whole stuff. I was like, I don't know, Iris, I still feel like she needs to do a little bit more as a character before I can stop seeing her as an obstacle in Barry's life. But overall, I really did enjoy this one, and I was so tempted to give this one like a 9, but I think an 8.5 is a fair review. Like, I think 8.5, it was a great episode, but honestly, it really does depend what next week's going to do, because I'm worried. I haven't seen the preview at all, so I really want to know what exactly is going to be happening next week. Like, if it's going to be a complete repeat, with just like some different scenes, like with Barry saying, "Oh no, I've gone through this before," like, you know, stuff like that. And it really depends. But fuck, I better not see Cisco die again. I better have like Harrison has some reason not to murder that man, or like Cisco just doesn't know. But overall, yeah, that's my opinion on the episode. Yeah, I should be getting back to doing these Flash episodes. I've been missing out on them, I know, but that's all for me. So thank you very much for watching as always, and remember, I'll see you guys next time.